Good day, Angelinians. Paxet Venya Adeo. It takes recruiters or employers an average of 6 seconds before they make the initial fit or no fit decision on candidates or applicants based on resumes, according to research conducted by the ladders. With this kind of competition, you need to have a flawless resume to get through the screening process. So, what is a resume? The word resume is of French origin, meaning summary. According to Blumenthal in 2021, a resume is a formal document that a job applicant creates to itemize their qualifications for a position. It is also a tool that summarizes your skills, educational background, experiences, and other qualifications. It can also be considered a sales tool in the sense that it helps you market your skills to a prospective employer in the same manner that a product is advertised in a magazine. It is also called curriculum vitae, but this is a more detailed type of resume. So, what is the difference between a curriculum vitae and a resume? According to Michael Tomaszewski in 2021, a well renowned career expert, a resume is a 1 to 2 page document presenting key facts about your professional experience, educational background, and skills. A CV or curriculum vitae is a longer document that details the whole course of your career. A resume is used for job search, a CV for academic purposes. A resume is almost always required for applicants. This is the first step taken by corporate recruiters or employers and hiring managers to identify candidates who might be invited for an interview to get a position. Successful resumes highlight specific accomplishments applicants have achieved in former positions, such as cutting costs, transcending sales goals, increasing profits, and building out teams. Just for a background or an etymology for CV or curriculum vitae, its Latin origin means course of one's life. In comparison to a resume, it is a more comprehensive document detailing on one's educational background, work history, researches done, honors and awards received, and any personal data pertinent to previous work. This may also be used for job applications, internship and training programs, apprenticeships, and academic program applications. So, the CV, as it is sometimes called nowadays, sometimes companies would require CVs to have a photo, and it also contains some personal information. So, this is longer than a resume, but it should be no longer than 2 pages. The resume and the curriculum vitae are usually created using Microsoft Word, where you can edit and format the document according to your desired presentation. The same software can be used in making the accompanying documents according to your desired presentation. Let us now proceed to the functions of a resume. The first function of a resume is it informs the employers of the skills that you can bring to the company. Next, it shows how qualified you are for the job, and it functions as a persuasive document which allows you to proceed to the next stage of the recruitment process, which is the interview. Let's now proceed to the resume evolution, which is the e-resume or the what we call electronic resume. As presented on screen, an e-resume or electronic resume has the same content and format as the traditional resume, but it is a soft copy which can be viewed on screen, stored in a hard drive, sent over the internet, searched for keywords, and manipulated into other types of documents. An electronic resume is a resume that is submitted to a potential employer electronically. The purpose of an electronic resume is to apply for jobs online. There are two methods for applying for positions online via electronic mail or email, or via the internet through a web page. Some successful overseas workers had used e-resume uploaded on the internet and or sent to emails. So even before the pandemic, e-resume has been in online circulation. Okay? So next, e-resume can be accessed faster depending on the stability of your net connection. So it's faster compared to when you need to travel to go to the company and then to personally submit your resume. So that is why it is more cost efficient and it's more environmental friendly. Today, employers are faced with huge amounts of money and labor costs collecting, sorting, and filing hard copies of resumes. To save money, many hiring organizations use electronic methods to review resumes. These electronic methods include accepting email resumes, scanning of resumes, having applicants complete online resume forms, or accessing resumes on internet home pages. Okay, so with the discussions made on resume and e-resume, please take note that every correspondence sent to an employer should be original and tailored to the position and organization. So, how are you to do this? So, you need to read the job description and highlight skills that match the position. Let us now proceed to the components of a resume. We start with contact information. So, as you can see on screen, the name of the applicant is in bigger font size. So this reflects the applicant's contact information. Okay, so for the contact information part, make sure your email address is professional. If it is muamuachupchup at yahoo.com or cutie at yahoo.com, tiktok at yahoo.com, you need to create a new email address for job applications. Remember, it must be a professional email address because you are creating your professional image. Okay. So, next, you are not to include marital status, height, weight, religion, name of parents, and color of eyes and hair. So, these pieces of information do not have relevance to your credentials. If you would be including those information, you are giving your employer the chance to create biases, excuse me, to create biases against yourself. Why and in what manner? So some companies prefer applicants who are single than married. They believe that single or unmarried employees are more efficient than married ones. Okay, and then you need to increase the font size of your name and in boldface. Okay, so you may use 15 for your font size of your name and 13 for your address and contact details. So, as what is presented on screen, you see a different format for the heading part, which shows the name of the applicant on top, followed by the objective statement. On the right side are the contact details. So you are free to format this part as you wish, as long as the name is bigger in size and in bold with your contact details. We now have a summary of qualifications. Okay, so to read our sample summary of qualifications on screen, grounded and solution oriented computer scientists with a wide variety of professional experiences, adept at motivating self and others, passionate about data security and educating the next generation of technology users, and innovators. Okay, so please remember that you are to use summary of qualifications in your resume when you have acquired at least 5 years of professional experience and accomplishments. And so, if you're a fresh graduate, you are to skip or not include this part in your resume. So, it should also be written in the third person and active voice. So, our sample on screen shows the qualification of the applicant as a computer scientist. Next, we have the objective statement. It is an optional part of a resume that includes job title, function, industry, and what you can offer to the company. Sometimes the disadvantage of this specifying the job or position you want in an objective statement is regarded as the fastest way to pigeonhole yourself. Example, you specified in your objective that you are applying as an asset manager. You may not be considered for financial planner if the available position is financial planner. And so your application will just be rejected. Okay, so in some cases, in the slide or on what is presented on screen, the sample objective is an advantage to the applicant because he just specified looking for a role. Okay, so the company or employer may consider this applicant to a position or to a number of positions that the employer thinks match the qualifications. Okay, so the objective statement is appropriate for recent graduates. And please remember that the bottom line here is only include an objective if it is not generic. Generic would mean an objective that has been used as a template or as a sample in a number of resumes. We now proceed to employment history. So, for the employment history part, never put anything that is not 100% true. Your employer has a way of verifying this part. Begin with the most recent experience, and then each job mentioned must include the name and the address of the employer, the inclusive dates, such as the month and year, and a brief job description. This gives your employer an idea of your qualifications and length of stay in your workplace. I would always advise my graduating students before that when they get hired, they must stay to work for 2 years at least. Okay? If they disagree with some policies but are manageable, they can stay. However, if they're not happy anymore, they may leave. Okay? That is their choice. That is why I would always tell them whenever we have this lesson on application letter and resignation letter, I would discourage them to learn how to write resignation letters. Okay, so anyway, my point in here is if you have at least 2 years work experience with companies, prospective employers will consider you to have a high chance of getting the job. Okay, because you do not belong to those new hired new hired people in companies who would just be staying for a week. After a week or two, after a month, they will be resigning. Okay, and then do not use many adjectives and superlatives as well as jargon. Remember that you are to consider your reader or receiver of your resume. And then your job responsibilities must not be written in complete sentences. So they can just be in the form of phrases. Also, you are not to state your past and present salary in your resume. You need to reserve that for your final interview. Pinoy culture would consider this inappropriate, asking for the salary, but in today's time, an applicant may ask for the compensation or salary details in the last part of the interview. Okay, so do not clutter your text. Use generous spacing and bullet lists as what is applied on the sample presented on screen. And then also use present tense active verbs for current jobs and past tense active verbs for past jobs. Okay, so examples of these verbs are tested, researched, wrote, developed, built, coordinated. Okay, so we now proceed to the next component of a resume, which is education. So when you list for your educational background, you need to always start with the most recent educational attainment. Include the name and address of the school, years attended, or year of graduation. Write down the degree and specialization. So you may start with the name of the school if it is very prestigious. Then omit high school educational background after a year of graduating from college. And then list academic honors, scholarships, and extracurricular activities. Okay, so as presented on screen, master's degree is the most recent educational attainment. Okay, so it's Masters in Advanced Computer Science, Computer Security, University of Manchester. So August 2006 to May 2008. So you may still include your completed college degree in here, except for the high school educational background. So those who are not performing well at present, being a grade 11 senior high school student, you still have a lot of chances in grade 12 to improve for your college years. When you apply for a job, what is more important are the skills and competencies that you have developed or acquired in college. I am not saying that your efforts for senior high school are to be put into waste. For those students who have already established their competency skills in senior high school, definitely it won't be a problem, but will be an advantage in college. That is why you need to give your best shot in college, as your journey will have an influence to the kind of work that you will have in the future. Okay, next component is training. So include only trainings that have a bearing on the job position you're applying for. When I first applied for my teaching job after graduation, I did not include my training or work experience when I served as a service crew at Wendy's Hamburgers because it is not related to the job I was applying for. Okay, so also you need to include the title of the training, organizer, date, and venue. So this gives the employer the idea that you really attended the training. Sometimes these trainings can be checked online. And then start with the most recent training. So in this slide, you'll see that November was listed first, followed by October. Okay, so November 2007 to December 6, 2007, okay, for the seminars or trainings attended. Okay, and then the next one for the National Certification 2 PC Operation, October 2007. Okay, so the next one is organizations. So, for this part of your resume, include professional and civic affiliations. As much as possible, do not include religious and political organizations unless you're applying for a job that requires such affiliation. And then include the name of the organization, your position or positions, and inclusive dates. And start with the most recent affiliation. Okay, so this might add to your credibility or qualifications to get the job, depending on the preferences of the employer. So what is presented as a sample on screen. So the applicant has this role of being the co-founder of Computer Science Club from April 2017 to April 2020. Then listed down where the tasks accomplished as a co-founder. Next, we have the professional licensure and certifications part of a resume. So include the name of certification. You may include the rating, okay, especially if it's a high rating. It may be optional not to include it for low ratings. Okay, and then date issued, place of issuance. So as what is presented on screen, the certificates are related to data analytics. So this may add up to your higher chances of getting hired. Okay, so for the honors and awards, list your recognized achievements. Never list achievements that have nothing to do with your work. For example, I got the Employee of the Month achievement at Wendy's when I was still a student, a working student. I did not include that, okay, in my resume because I am applying for a teaching position. And then you are to include the title of the award of honor, inclusive date, sponsor, or award giving organization if it is related to the job that you are applying for. So, as what is presented on screen, the awards and recognitions of the applicant are Employee of the Month 8 times over a 4-year period and Star Employee in 2019. Okay? And then for the references and signature part, so usually this will be asked of you once you are scheduled or done for an interview. That is why you should not include this part in your resume. You just simply need to write down or encode references available upon request. However, if you decide to put them, do not exceed to 3 references. Okay, so include their name, position, company, and contact details, preferably the business contact details. Please remember that before you include names in your reference list, make sure that you have asked permission first from them. If you plan to include your former teacher, for instance, you may ask permission through email or through phone. That manner, that person may check how have you been in his or her class before. So to share with you some of the questions I received from a number of companies where I was listed as one of the references are the following. So once you pick up the phone, the employer or that person related to that company would be informing you that your name was listed as a reference for this specific applicant, and then he will ask you questions about, could you please give me a description, specifically the traits, the attitudes of this specific applicant. Okay, and so I would be able to give answers, okay, true answers, if that applicant had really given me the time or had informed me that I would be receiving a call. Okay, I'd be receiving a call soon because he or she included my name as one of the references or character references. Okay, this actually reminded me too of a former student who had become a teacher and then posted in her social media wall telling or reminding all of her former students to ask her permission first before including her name in the reference list, because there was a time when an employer had called her up about a specific applicant whom she did not recall of very well. Okay, so you need to always inform your references ahead of time that a future employer might be calling. Okay, so another, remember to just send or submit what your employer asked you. Sometimes applicants include unsolicited documents. So when you say unsolicited documents, these are not required. These are not required to be submitted in that first step. Okay, what are they to include as the unsolicited documents? These are letters of recommendation, example coming from the mayor of the town, coming from the governor or a high position official, a clerk, or others. Okay, and then sometimes you would already include, or others would already include their transcripts. They're not yet being asked. Okay, so in most cases, sending this extras without being asked won't help you. And in some cases, it can actually hurt. Okay, and then you do not have to sign your resume. So we now proceed to the types of resume. Our first type is what we call the reverse chronological. Okay, so from the name itself, it's following an order of events in time, but reverse or starting from the most recent time to the past time or earliest to the oldest. Okay, so as shown or as presented on screen, the professional experience listed is from 2011, followed by 2006. Okay, so this type of resume is commonly favored by employers as it is very straightforward. Okay, it's because this is the most popular type among employers, and it positions you for the next upward career step because they would see a background or history of your work experience and then fits traditional industries such as education and banking. Okay. However, there are these weaknesses, some points of weaknesses. It can highlight periods of unemployment and short job tenure. And then it may also reveal your age and may suggest that you were stuck on a plateau in a particular job. Okay, so the next type is functional. So for the functional type of resume, this focuses on skills and not on job titles. So this is best for job hoppers, career changers, new graduates, or people with minimal work experience. Okay, so what are the strengths of using this functional type of resume? So this helps employers visualize what your skills are. It's written after researching about the company and matches the skills that the employer wants. Uses unpaid and non work experience to your best advantage and allows you to subordinate job history. However, the weaknesses are shows lack of career path, may raise suspicion that you are not the cream of the crop among applicants, may also suggest that you were stuck on a plateau in a particular job, and raises suspicion that you are hiding something. Actually, these weaknesses would be somehow followed up during the interview. So, from the sample functional resume on screen, you will see that counseling, leadership, human relations, and management were highlighted than job titles. Okay, so we now proceed to the targeted type of resume. So for the targeted type of resume, the strength of this type of resume is shows the employer that you are a good match for the position. The weakness is you may not be readily considered for other jobs because it is presented in this functional resume that this is best for people with only one career pattern and multi-track job history. For the combined format, it contains both the features of the reverse chronological and functional type. Now that we are done with all the types of a resume, we now proceed to the tips on making an effective resume. So, an effective resume contains both the features of the reverse chronological and functional type. This format will be interesting to employers as they will see clearly your career growth and at the same time your skills. Okay, so an effective resume also is aligned. Okay, so the content of your resume is aligned to the job description and job requirement being applied for. So do not include your part time jobs that do not meet the job requirement. Just highlight your skills. Then do not write the word resume at the top of your resume. HR managers know what a resume looks like. So this will destroy your professional image. Okay. And then the next one is use good quality 8.5 by 11 white or off white bond paper. So colorful or stationery papers not appropriate for printing your resume. And then you are to use distinctive headings and subheadings. Okay, for clarity. Okay, so next one, use readable and professional looking fonts such as Times New Roman, Book Antigua. Avoid using juvenile and tacky fonts like Comic Sans, Curls MT. So use 10 to 12 points for the body and no more than 16 points for the heading. Okay, next you are to use proper layouting for readability. So there are a lot of sample layouts online, or you may create your own. Okay, next the print should be laser quality with a minimum rating of 300 dots per inch. If you desire to photocopy the resume, be sure it has quality printing. So, this is one way to attract employers to read your resume over the others with low print or copy quality. Okay, use only one side of the paper. Do not print your resume content in a back to back paper. Never include a photograph unless asked by the prospective employer. So do not submit resumes with scanned pictures. Okay, so in here, you are subjecting yourself to biases if you include your photograph. If the requirements of the job do not include pleasing personality, never paste your picture in your resume. Okay, so based on experience, uh, for a resume, so Pinoy culture would always be putting or submitting their resumes with pictures. Okay, it has been a part of the culture of applicants. Okay, but please remember if you're not being asked to attach your picture, you are not to do so. For CV or curriculum vitae, so I remember AUF had asked me so years ago to update my CV, okay, with my picture. Okay, so when I was asked to do it, I attach a picture. Okay, so the next thing to remember as a tip on making an effective resume, do not mention anything about your expected salary. Okay, so remember this is to be discussed before the job interview ends. So use a reverse chronological order in writing the details. Okay, so this manner will help the employer browse clearly your work experience and others. Point out strengths and omit weaknesses. So remember that your objective is to get the job, and when you include your weaknesses, this will not help you with your objective. Be factual. Do not exaggerate. Okay? This can be supported by documents as evidence. Therefore, do not exaggerate. And then limit your resume from 1 to 3 pages. However, more than 3 pages can be used for curriculum vitae. Okay, and then edit and proofread your resume. A simple typography error might be a deal breaker for employers. So this is very important to one's creation of professional image. So avoid the use of I as it is already implied. Target the resume to your potential employer. It gives you an edge over those who send generic resumes. So remember to create your own. Do not exactly use patterns from online samples. Never send a resume without a cover letter. These two always come in pair. Never include reasons for leaving other jobs. Okay, so this is not a part of the resume. You may be asked this question during the job interview. And then be mindful of the unexplained time gaps. It may raise doubts on why there is a gap. Okay, so this is to be asked also during the job interview. You just need to be prepared for your answer. Okay, and then use an active tone and powerful words. Okay, so the contents of this presentation are taken from the following sources with authors Barrot, Blumenthal, Harrison, Manhattanville College Library, Mount St. Joseph University Press Book, Sampson, Stigliano and Bruni, and Tomaszewski. Okay, that ends our discussion of the resume. Thank you, and may the good Lord reward us always.